So I'll be sharing with you guys what are those things you should look out for. Are you going for a furnished apartment? Are you going for a basement unit? I know a lot of people wants to know about basement units, and if you should go for long or short lease and all that good stuff. So we'll be talking about all of that in this video, so make sure you stick to the end. Hey guys, it's your girl Wiz Queen back again with another video. If this is your first time on my channel, thank you so much for joining. Please consider subscribing below and ensure you give this video a thumbs up. If you're a returning subscriber, you know the vibes, please give this video a thumbs up as well. Don't hesitate to leave a comment below and don't forget to share with your friends as well. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys tips on how to find an accommodation in Canada. So if you're a newcomer, if you're coming into Canada as a student, as a resident, or if you're already in Canada and you're struggling with finding an apartment, or maybe you're planning to come into Canada, or your friends or family is coming into Canada and you think they will find this video useful, ensure you share with them. So there are different types of apartment that you can find or accommodation that you can get for yourself in Canada. I'll give you an estimated price range of about how much each of them will cost, and I'll also put a picture on the screen so you can have an idea or overview to see what it possibly would look like. So the first one is definitely a room in a shared house or an apartment. This is going to be you sharing common spaces with other people, so probably the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, or the washroom as well. Most times a room in a shared house could be between $500 to $800. Sometimes if you're going for like nice apartments, it could be up to 1,000 or 1,500 sometimes. There is also basement units. Basement units are usually below the street level or underground. Sometimes some basements actually walk out that you don't have to like go down, but they are usually below the street level. So basement units could go between 800 to 1,200, depends on the kind of basement and how many rooms are there, and if it's like you're going to be sharing with other people or whatever it is. So basements are usually between that range as well. Then another one we have are townhouses. Townhouses are usually houses in a community or in a city or in a town as well. They are usually owned by people, and you can rent the entire building, or you can also rent like the basement. Some townhouses have their basements that people rent out for extra money, of course, and most townhouses could be between 2,000 to 2,500, depending on the number of rooms, depending on if you're sharing utilities or if you are in a major city as well. Another kind of accommodation that you could also get are apartment buildings. Apartment buildings could range between $1,500 to $2,000 in price. They're usually in an apartment complex and mostly owned by people. Some people could rent out their apartment, and some people could actually buy it to own for themselves or use. Then if they are renting it, then you can rent it from them. Another kind of accommodation you can definitely find in Canada is condominium. Condominiums, or condos as people refer to them, are usually the high-rise building. You see them, they look so pretty, they look very fine. They come with very nice amenities such as gyms, concierge, swimming pool. Some of them even have like shops in it where you can buy stuff and go between 1,800 to 2,500, and again depending on the city and depending on the location. So what are the kind of accommodation that newcomers should be looking out for? Say if you're coming to Canada for the first time and you don't have anybody here, or you don't know where you're going to stay. So the first thing I'll ask you to, or I'll recommend for you to do, is to check out accommodation on Airbnb. Airbnb is a platform where people list their accommodation or housing for rent, and people can book it. So depending on how long you would like to stay, some hosts could list the apartment for a week, some could be up to a month, some could be for 2 weeks, depending on what you want. You can always go online, see the reviews, and you can check out for the one you want. And there's also homestay. Homestay is similar to Airbnb. It's just that you pay directly to the host. If you're going for either of homestay or Airbnb, I would definitely recommend you read the reviews. The reviews would most likely be from people that have stayed in those accommodation before, and they can tell you a little bit more about the host, and you can know if it's going to be a good place for you to stay, or maybe you should look for something else. Another kind of accommodation that newcomers, or if you're coming to Canada for the first time, you can stay is definitely you can find units on Kijiji. Kijiji is like a classified website where you list like on your own, so you'll be trading directly with the unit owners, and it's very risky, I would say. What I would personally recommend would be for you to go to maybe Airbnb or homestay, but some people probably want to stay in a place like for a longer while, say maybe a month or 3 months or something. So some people can also go stay for a week. So if you go on Kijiji as well, there are some people that list their units available per month. Some people would also list their apartment per week, different price, some of them even per day. I've seen some units that they were listed for $50, $30 per day on Kijiji. It's kind of risky because you're dealing directly with the person, and they could ask you to pay up front. And if you're coming from a country where you don't have access to Canadian dollars or means of payment, you might not be able to pay them directly. So for newbies, or if you're coming to Canada for the first time, I would definitely recommend you check out Airbnb or homestay. Then after that, then you can go ahead on Kijiji to look for another unit. newcomers that are settling into Canada, for you to be able to settle into Canada, say after your first month or after your first 2 weeks, you assess the environment, you see where you would like to stay now, or you have a specific city that you'd like to stay after staying for a short term period in a particular maybe Airbnb or homestay. What are some of the accommodations that can be very easy for you to get? Definitely the first one is a room in a shared house. Most people that list their rooms or apartment really don't demand for too much. They just ask you, oh, maybe you pay for first and last month's rent. Most of the time they could accept short lease, so they are really not very strict with, because they are only renting a room in an apartment or in a house to you. Another one that could be easily accessible to newcomers is definitely basement. Almost every house has a basement unit, and some people would definitely furnish their basement and make it look habitable, and newcomers can definitely take that because the house owner are not strict on, maybe it's just like for them to get extra income, right? And that extra income, they are probably not going to be too strict on what they need or the requirement for you to be able to get that apartment. So basement are definitely something you should check out for. But on the contrary, if you are looking out for basement, there are definitely different factors you have to consider. There's definitely, if it's a walkout basement, if you'd have to be shoveling the snow, if it has a separate entrance, if it has natural lighting, a lot of other things that you have to definitely consider before taking a basement. I personally, I live in a basement unit, so I don't think basements are totally bad. I would definitely be making a video on the pros and cons. So another apartment that you could also get as a newcomer, which I think would be very easy for newcomers, is lease transfer. So some people are moving out of their current apartment and they are moving elsewhere. You can get the lease from them and continue the lease. Sometimes it could be your friend, sometimes it could be maybe a colleague at work, or whatever it is, or maybe a family or someone. But the only way for you to easily get lease transfer is if you have like close relationships with that person, or maybe you've been able to network well with a group of people and they tell you, I'm moving out of here, you can continue my lease. But it's like very limited. The easiest one that newcomers might be able to access is basement unit and a room in a shared house. After a while, if you say for instance you stay in your basement or you stay in a shared room in a house for a certain period of time, once you've been able to get a job, or maybe you're now getting settled in Canada, or you like wanted something more convenient, you don't want to share anymore, some people would rather move out of maybe whatever unit they are currently staying to get somewhere better. Some people could also save more and probably go for buying a mortgage. So for you to get an apartment, there are several things you also have to consider. Would you go for a furnished apartment or unfurnished apartment? Would you go for all utilities inclusive, or the one that you should pay 30% of the utilities, or you are going to be paying full utilities, or maybe the utilities are covered? What I would say personally is, if you're able to find a unit, if you're still a newcomer in Canada, if you're able to find a unit that has furnitures, that is fully furnished or partly furnished, and it has utilities covered in it, then you should definitely go for that, because it's easy for you to move around. See for instance, you are staying in Mississauga and you've eventually got a job, or maybe at some point you change your job and you're moving to another city, say London, Ontario, or you're going to Sarnia, and at this point in time you want to pack up your bag and leave. But because you have furnitures and all that, you have to start thinking, do you sell them off, do you move them as well, what's the cost of moving and all that. But if you had stayed in a furnished apartment, the only thing you might have to do is to just pack your bags and leave. So furnished apartment, I definitely would recommend you go for furnished apartment. But if you think you are here to stay, you have a stable job, or you're not going to be moving anytime soon, then you can definitely go for a furnished apartment. It's sometimes nicer for you to be able to get your own furniture, because you might want something more fancy, you might want your own decoration differently. So I mean, if you are here to stay, or you're in that city to stay, then you can go for unfurnished apartment. Another thing to definitely consider is, should you be going for short-term lease or long-term lease? If it's your first place that you're taking in Canada, your first accommodation, I would definitely recommend you go for short lease. Short lease, it's very easy for you to move around, trust me. If your lease is about 3 months or 6 months, if after staying there you see that, oh, you don't like this place anymore, you can't live with these people, or you can't deal with them, then you can easily move as well. But if you had signed a 1-year lease, then you know you're stuck in that place, you have to stay. So definitely a short lease for your first unit. Then after a while, if you think you're going to be in that city, then you can sign a long lease. Or if it's an apartment that you're not sharing with anybody, then you can also sign a long lease. Most houses, if you're staying in the basement unit, they could tell you, oh, you're paying 30% of the utilities, or 40%. Sometimes they could also tell you your utilities are inclusive of your rent, but this is something you would have to clarify with the house owner by the time you are getting the apartment. Then definitely if you're driving, you also have to look out for parking space, or if they are going to be mowing the lawn, or if you have to be shoveling the snow as well. If you're staying in an apartment, then you definitely don't have to worry about all that. The building would definitely cover all of that. But if you're staying in a house, you might have to. If you're staying in a basement as well, if your landlord or whoever is not living with you guys, you might have to do it. So you also want to clarify that upon when you're signing the lease with your landlord. Another thing that people usually ask is, should you go for a realtor or should you not? I will say, if you're going for an apartment, or maybe or maybe a condo, you can consider using a realtor. Most of the times they don't charge you, it's free, right? But then if you think about it, some kind of way, the cost of the realtor services must have been embedded in the price of the rent. So it doesn't mean if you go for an apartment that you didn't use a realtor that you wouldn't be paying the exact same price. Doesn't matter. But I would say, if you're trying to look for something nice, then definitely go for a realtor. They would be able to send you a variety of options and you can pick from them. Getting an apartment can be very, very stressful. The requirement for some apartments is just crazy. Some landlords will ask you for credit check, they will ask you for your credit history, they will ask, some people even ask for post-dated checks, some people ask you to complete a rental application, which I don't think, that one is not even bad. Some landlords would also ask to see your last 2 pay stubs, reference letter from your previous landlord. They will probably need that. All of these requirements makes it kind of difficult for a newcomer to get an apartment when they come to Canada. So sometimes some people get someone that could get the apartment on their behalf and they move in there, and some other times you might just have to settle for something or whatever you're able to find till you get a job, till you get or build your credit history. Then you can now go for an apartment or a condo. Where are some of the platforms that you can find accommodation? Definitely Kijiji. I have gotten all, like, I think all the places that I've stayed in Canada, I got them all from Kijiji. So Kijiji is definitely the #1 place. It's a classified website where people go online to list whatever they want to buy or sell, and also accommodation where they have for rent. So definitely Kijiji. Then there's also Facebook Marketplace. If you're new in Canada and Facebook Marketplace is not available in your country, you might have to change your location in your Facebook settings to show that you're in Canada. Then that way you can see Facebook Marketplace. So accommodations are usually available on Facebook Marketplace as well. Then there's also zompa.ca, there's also condo.ca as well, there's rentboard.ca. There are different websites. I'll list them all in the description box so you can check them out at your convenience. And let's hop on my laptop to see what kind of apartment you can get for what price, and let's see how much or what are some of the requirements these landlords are asking for. So here we have kijiji.ca, as you can see. Then here we can search for a unit. We can always put the location here. So let's use Greater Toronto area as our reference, and we can always say, let's say 30 kilometers away from that location. Then let's say we're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment. The filter is already on long-term rental, so just in case you're looking for short-term lease, you have to change this filter here. Then there are different units here, as you can see. 3,000 feet 2-bedroom basement apartment for rent for 1,800. And there's also this basement as well. Let's open up this one to see. So if you look at the pictures of this one, it's not furnished, obviously. It's not a walkout basement, but I think it has separate entrance. That's why they show this entrance here. Then if you go to the description, you can see utilities are not included. You see the utilities, you pay 30% of the overall utilities. It has washer and dryer separate, so you already know if you want to go for this kind of apartment. So that is that about Kijiji. So you can always search and filter and continue to check in from here. Then for Facebook Marketplace, I'm already logged in. You go to facebook.com/marketplace. You see I'm already logged in. Then you search for what you're looking for, say 2-bedroom for rent. We're looking within Toronto, Ontario, for 40 kilometers, as you can see. It shows us this one for 1,750, 2-bedroom and 1-bathroom. As you can see, the listing has been here for a bit. Then it says hydro is extra, so water is inclusive of the rent, but hydro is extra. There is no parking spot, so if you're driving, you have to pay attention to those details. And this is what the unit looks like. It's actually really nice, as you can see. Super cute. It has its own laundry and all that. This is what the building looks like. So the behind the building, everything looks all good. So if you're going for this kind of apartment, this is a good one that you can check. And there are other listings like that. Now that you have seen some of the apartments that are available for rent, and you know what are the requirements, what are some of the things you should know or you should put in mind before going for renting your apartment? Firstly, rent in Canada are paid on monthly basis, so some rent starts from the first day of the month, and some rent also start from the 15th day of the month. Depends on the agreement you guys have. Then secondly, always ensure you have a signed lease agreement. Even if you are staying for 3 months, even if you are staying for 6 months, most leases are usually for a long term period of a year, and some could be for 6 months. But if you are staying for a short lease, which could be 3 months or 6 months, I would definitely tell you to sign a lease agreement. This is because if at any point in time there is a deviation from the agreement, you have a signed agreement to say this is what we agreed upon. We said, oh, 30% of the utilities, and you don't have to fight. That's the only way for you to have proof, basically. So ensure you have a signed lease agreement. Another thing you should know is that look out for places that are close to major roads or highways, or even subways as well. Sometimes if you're not driving, especially if you're not driving, ensure that your house or wherever you're staying is not too far from the bus stop where you can easily access the bus or access the subway. Definitely put that into consideration as well. Remember I said rents are paid on monthly basis. Some units, most times they ask you to pay first and last month rent. So if you are going for a new apartment, they would ask you pay your first and last month rent. The first, if you are signing a lease for 6 months, that means the first month is the so that means the first and last month rent is the first month and the 6th month. So you only have to pay for rent for the rest of the 4 months in between. So put that in mind as well. Most landlords would ask you for, they are legally allowed to ask you for first and last month rent. Then also, if you're a newcomer and maybe you are having difficulties in getting an apartment, you can also offer to pay maybe more than 2 months. That's more than the first and last month. Some people can offer to pay 4 months, some people could even say 6 months. It's totally up to you. Then sometimes there could be key deposit as well, or security deposit as some landlords will call it. So this one you are able to get back once your lease has terminated, or at the end of your lease. Say if you spoil anything, or if you miss anything, or you broke anything, or anything got missing, then that way they would be able to take out the cost from that. But not all landlords require for this. I've never had to pay for key or security deposits, so it's totally up to the landlord. That's not very common, but it happens as well. If you're staying in an Airbnb or homestay, be careful with all the things that are there. Be careful not to mistakenly take out something that doesn't belong to you. If you also see that something has broken, or maybe any of the things that you met there were not in good condition, ensure you bring the attention of the host to it, or take pictures or whatever. Because Airbnb, I'm telling you this, they usually put a hold on your card, and when you say you pay for an accommodation and it's $200, there's usually a hold, an extra hold on the card, that when the host make complaints to Airbnb to say, oh, maybe this person spoiled this or this person spoiled that, they can recover the money from that. It's part of the agreement signed by Airbnb and you, but you don't read, most of us don't read terms and conditions. We just signed and check the box and say yes, agree. So but that's one of the things that Airbnb does. There is a hold on your card, so you want to be careful about managing or using things in the house. At the end of the day, make sure that you are getting a place that is safe for you, that you are happy, and it's a place that you feel at peace with yourself. If you don't feel at peace there, my friend, move, go and get another place. Don't tie your life down to a place that you are not happy. Your house is probably a place you'll be at most of the time, so you want to make it as comfortable as possible. You want to make sure it's with people, or you're sharing with people that gives you peace of mind. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something new, and make sure you check out the links in the description box to see where you can find an accommodation. If this is your first time on my channel, make sure you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up as well if you enjoy watching this video, and don't forget to share with your friends. I'll see you guys in my next video. In the meantime, stay confident. Bye bye.